Okay, I'm Lawana Key Daniels. Graduated from Alabama A&M University.
Hi, I'm Destiny Askew. I graduated from Berea College.
Hi, I'm Kristen Craig, and I graduated from Tusculum University.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Gilbert, and I graduated from Alabama State.
Hi, I'm Brianna McCurdy, and I graduated from UAB.
Hi, I'm Adriana Holloway, and I'm a current student at Lawson State Community College.
Okay. Oh, do we have mics now? We're official, guys.
We're official.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the questions, and then we'll kind of hold off. If you all have any questions at the end, then I'll give you a chance to do so. Okay, so we will start in order with Ms. Lawani. Okay, Ms. Lawani, how did you decide the college you attended?
Okay, so for me, honestly, I really did not necessarily decide. I attended an HBCU. When I was going through looking for colleges, I did not have any HBCU on there at all, like absolutely none. But I finally decided once my university came to our school, to my high school, and they accepted us on the accepted a lot of us on the spot and told us, they were just really helpful with just helping us out and just giving us more information on, HBCUs, especially Alabama A&M. So me, I was just like, okay, well, I got accepted into other schools, but for them, it was just more personable. So I was just like, okay, well, I'll give it a try. And if I don't like it, I'll transfer elsewhere. So that's how I decided.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Ms. Destiny.
Same question.
The question is, how did you decide the college you attended?
So my main goal when I became a senior was to get out of Alabama, which I'm here now, so that didn't work out that great. But I did go to Berea College, which is in Kentucky, so it was out of state, and also Berea College is a work-study college, so I went for absolutely free my first year, and then didn't pay. I think my highest tuition bill was about $300, and so free school, cheap school, and it was a really good education. I got a lot of experience out of being there. I got a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have gotten somewhere else. So, yeah, that's why.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Kristen.
Okay, for me, I knew two goals of mine were to get out of Alabama. I definitely wanted to go to Atlanta State School. And then also I knew I wanted to go to a small school because when I would go on college campuses and they would talk about Alabama and Auburn, they'd be like, oh, you're just a number. And I didn't want to be a number. And I wanted to be able to build that relationship with my professors. And so for me, I did the sports route. I started doing lacrosse camps, and my coach kind of found me, and so that's kind of how I ended up where I was, but it checked off all the criteria. So it was in Tennessee. It was a small school, so that was how it worked out for me.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Jasmine. So I come from an HBCU family, so it was not an option if I was going to a HBCU. But I did not pick Alabama State at all. I knew I was going to Tuskegee, that was it. Well, in high school, they came to my high school and I was in the choir and they gave me a scholarship for choir. And my mom was like, you got a scholarship? That's where you go. So I ended up. And I loved it though, because it felt really at home once I visited, so that was how I ended up at Alabama State. Thank you, ma'am. Brianna.
So I started off at community college. I went to Gaston State Community College, and they actually had a really, really great transfer program with UAB, and I got to know the man who was over the transfer students, and it became my option. I started off in biomedical science, and as you know, UAB is the school for science, so that's what confirmed my decision.
Miss
Hannah.
As for me, I had my mind fixated on Alabama State University, but due to coronavirus, since I'm a current freshman, I decided to just stay home and do Lawson State. So I felt that that was the best fit for me right now. So.
Thank you all.
Okay. Let's start with you again. Okay, so the next question. Did you feel prepared when applying for college? Okay, did I feel prepared? Does anyone ever really feel prepared? I don't really know like how you could really necessarily prepare to prepare for college. I'm not going to say I didn't feel prepared. I felt like it was just all of a sudden. Like I said, my university, we had already been touring, a lot of colleges, especially Hbcus. So I, when they came to my to my high school, they helped us fill out applications, and it was really just a sheet of paper, and it was like really fast. And they accepted us, so I didn't really, it wasn't like a panic type of thing. So I guess at some point eventually when I got there, I was prepared, so thank you.
So I felt prepared, was I? No. But it was more, like when you're a teen, you're like, oh yeah, that's never going to happen to me. Like people will tell you what happens at college and how it's going to be, and you're like, no, it's going to be great. Listen to people around you and how they experience college, because those experiences are very, very accurate. Yeah. They're very accurate, like no matter, even if they went to school like 20 years ago, they're still pretty accurate in terms of like how to get out of situations that you find yourself in, and who to go to for help when you're in college. So, yeah.
For me, yes. As far as filling out applications and trying to prepare for like FAFSA and all of that, definitely my school pushed, like, especially our freshman year, they kind of scared us and was like, if you don't do well in your classes now, it's really going to haunt you later, because then you're trying to play catch up and then you're trying to get your GPA up. Definitely, we did a lot of pushing for ACT prep. My mom definitely put me on a lot of camps for that, so I could try to get that up, and especially going on a lot of college tours and understand like the different options, especially with ACT and like what type of scores you need for that. And some schools be knowing the information of understanding if they do the super score with the ACT. So that means like you take one test and say you get like a 22 on it, but you did well in like one area, you got a 30. They take kind of just the best scores from each section to make a super score. So definitely, I feel like I was prepared for the most part. Also pay attention to the financial aspects of things and understand what your school has to offer that you are looking into, because some schools stack scholarships, others do not. So I always push make sure you understand the financial side and how it's going to impact you after you graduate. So,
Thank you.
Academically, yes. Emotionally, absolutely not. But my mother required that I go at least an hour away to push me out there, and I'm gonna say it worked. It helped me grow up. It prepared me for what I wasn't expecting. But overall, after you get there and get in the mix and start, you realize you're more prepared than you realize you were. Everything you've done built you to get to this point. So, yes. Thank you.
In a nutshell, no, not at all, in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you for your honesty.
I came from a homeschool background, and so definitely socially, I was not ready. Academically, kind of ready, but I think I went in and took the maximum hours, like 15 hours, I think, that you could take. I learned the hard way that is not what you do your first year of college. But my second year, I didn't do that, and I got involved and became a part of some clubs, and that kind of found my own place. And then by that time, I was very ready. But at the beginning, no. No. Thank you.
I would say for me, yes and no, because I was partially trying to prepare myself, because sometimes I have a hard time with like change and stuff like that, and I kind of wanted to like push myself out there to like, because change, every day things change. So I would say yes and no.
Okay. So this question is for our panelists who went to HBCUs. What impact did that have on your life as an African American female? Okay. Okay, so I feel like for me, I feel like there was a time, like when I first got to college, first of all, my family spoils me, have always done that. So when I got to school, I just felt like everything was supposed to be how it is at home. Like I felt like my teachers were supposed to spoil me because I was a teacher's pet and I got my way with everything. So when I got to college, I was trying my teachers because I'm like, well, I did it in high school, so what about now? Turned out it's completely different. And I don't know, I feel like my teachers really just pushed me. Our school is predominantly African American, however, it was still diverse. So they still didn't make just because you're African American, it needs to be easy. Like my teachers really pushed me, especially my female teachers. They really instilled in me the importance of being a woman and being an educated woman and being an educated Black woman, in society. So I feel like the impact that it has had on me was, just really, really big, because I learned the importance of just being a woman and being a powerful Black woman too. So that was me. Thank you.
Give me the question one more time.
Yes, ma'am, I can. What impact did going to an HBCU have on your life as an African American female?
Well, okay, the first day I came into college, I had an orientation class, and she said HBCUs are built to create a mindset for African American people and create an environment that helps African American people flourish in a world that's not always so friendly to African Americans. And for some reason, that one quote kind of stuck with me. And as I went through, I was like, it's not gonna be any different, but it made, everything was felt comfortable. And not in a way that you get too lax and you don't do any work and you just kind of doing your own thing, but in a way that you feel like you could be yourself. It helped you become who you really wanted to be. It helped you to understand yourself. It helped you to realize things you do and don't like about yourself that you felt like you needed to change. And before then, I didn't know. I was just kind of going with the flow of life because I had my parents tell me, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, but you get to there and you realize everything is on you right now. This is going to make you, this is going to break you. So it helped me to become the person I am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our next question. What type of adversities did you face in college? And this is for all of our panelists. Okay, so what kind of adversities did I face in college? Failing was one. And when I say fail, I mean fail. Like had to retake a class like 3 times. And that was something that I had to face. It was a math class, and I don't know about y'all, but I hate math. Always have, think I always will. But really, I feel like for me, I feel like I really just had to apply myself. I felt like, I felt so low when it came to math. I felt like I was like really just stupid. when it came to math, and it's like, you know, you're in a class, like freshman year, you're in a class, and it's like nobody, you know, really wants to like ask any questions. And I feel like that was just so important for me, because I can remember literally calling home and telling my parents, well, hey y'all, you know, I failed my math class again. And I remember like praying to God to help me pass this math class, but not one time did I go home and study for that math test. So I was like, that doesn't make sense. You know, because really like faith without work is dead. So I didn't study, so I was like, okay, God. So it was like at that moment, I was just like, okay, I cannot retake this class again. And so when I finally did take the class, I changed things about me that I felt like could better help me. And that was sitting in the front of the class, actually asking questions, and taking the opportunity for tutoring. And I passed that class with an A, to the point I did not have to, I did not have to take the final exam, because I had maintained an A average throughout the entire semester. And I feel like that was something that I had to face, because I wasn't used to failing. And, you know, I would look up to, you know, my friends were upperclassmen, really. So I would listen to them, and, you know, that, oh, you failed a class, don't worry about it, you know, this, that, and the third, or you can go back and retake it, but that does not look good on your transcript at all. So I feel like that was just something that I had to face, because I wasn't used to failing, especially coming from high school. Like I'm not saying that they necessarily pass you, but you can slide when you know, like when you're in high school and middle school and stuff. So that was something that I had to face, because failing was like really hard for me.
So, this is probably way too much detail about my life, but I got really, really sick when I was in college. I had Hbcus, and so I found myself sick for a whole year and not realizing it, and then in the hospital while in Kentucky, 7 hours away from my mother. And that is not a wake-up call of like, oh, you're probably doing something not right. It is, but it wasn't fully my fault. It was my fault. But like when you're in college, you're not invincible. Like if you feel sick, go to the doctor. If you, like, school isn't the only, like when you're in college, sometimes school feels like the only thing that's important when you're there, and you have to be very careful about knowing that yourself as a person, your mental health, your physical health is important, and getting help when you start to feel sick is super important. My grades suffered for a year and a half. I like almost got expelled because I don't remember like a whole year because I was so anemic. But I graduated. I'm doing great things, cool things. I'm back in Alabama because it's bad that I need to be back in Alabama. But yeah, if your physical and your mental health are so important, and when you go off to school, we need to be very cognizant of them.
Thank you.
Okay, Elisa, can you repeat the question?
Yes, I can. What type of adversities did you face in college?
Okay, the first one was being by myself in a whole different state. The school I was at, they had like awful cell phone reception, and a lot was happening, and I was freaking out, and I needed to call my mom, but I could only call my mom in like one spot at campus. And so I just remember like having like a panic attack, like I don't know what to do, and like what did I, you know, decide to do with my life, and why did I think it was smart to go to another state? But after that, I calmed down and like figured it out. So definitely like learning to be independent, because you don't realize how much you really depend on your parents until you're like out there on your own. And that definitely was like a big thing for me to adjust to. Definitely failed a class. And my class was, and it wasn't my fault, technically speaking. Well, I went to a school that was on a block system. So how it worked was that you go to a school, you go to class for one class for 18 days straight. And so that you just focus on that one thing. And during that time, it was like snowstorms happening. So we only went to that class like 5 times. And if you miss like one day, that's like 3 weeks worth of class. But I just remember being so upset when I failed, but that definitely was like a learning moment for me. Because it made me reevaluate what I wanted to do with my life, and if the major I was in at the time, which was math, was what I actually wanted to like do career-wise. Because you're gonna change your major like 5-10 times.
I am team changer major, that was me, so I'm not even gonna judge you.
Right.
Been there before, and it's okay.
Right, it is perfectly fine.
You're learning.
Right. You think you're gonna do one thing, and then you end up doing something completely different. So don't think what you're choosing now is gonna be it by the end of all of this. So definitely changing that, and then just learning to deal with different people from different areas. You know, I feel like, you know, everybody kind of used to each other because from Alabama, you know, same mannerisms to a certain extent, but definitely dealing with people from different parts of the country is like a culture shock to a certain degree. And, you know, sometimes you can butt heads with people, and that's perfectly fine, but you just learn to adjust to that. So I would say those have been my biggest things.
Thank you.
I agree. My first thing was learning to fail. Because in college, I was top of my class, so I thought when I went to college, oh, this is gonna be the same thing, no problem. Until I hit my first biology class, and that went downhill really quick. The second thing was, I'm a pretty independent person. Calling home and asking for help was a big thing for me. I did not want to call home. I felt like I was admitting to failing if I called home. But one day, I had 18 hours. I had been studying for 3 days straight. And for some reason, something just said, call your mom. I heard her voice and I cried. I cried like I've never cried before in my life. And something about having her and just talking to her about it. And she was like, you know what, go take a shower. Go take a nap. Just having that support system, lean on your support system. Because some days they're going to be the people that get you through it. Because it's going to get hard. And I mean really hard. But just having a support system and leaning on them, don't make yourself so independent that you don't want to. Please do it, because that's what's going to push you and help you to graduate.
So I can piggyback off of everyone who has spoken pretty much. Failing, definitely. Just like Destiny, I got sick my last year of college and ended up being in the hospital for nearly 2 months, and basically sent a whole email out to all my teachers saying, I will be wheeled across the stage if I have to be to graduate. But for me personally, my anxiety is what was the biggest thing for me. I always tell people, 2 years ago, I would not be able to sit here and hold this microphone and talk to you. I would have a panic attack. So that was a really big shock for me, is to have conversations with people, be able to present in front of people. That's something that really scared me. It's something I couldn't do, to the point to where I think I went fully online, because I was like, there's no way I can be in a classroom in front of people. But after some time and breaking away from that, and just like Jasmine said, sometimes you have to have those conversations with those parents and call home and let them know, hey, this is what's happening, help. And then they also, if you ever find yourself counseling and going to a therapist, can very much help if you have anxiety or you're feeling any type of way. They offer that on campus at most campuses, and it really helped me to be able to go back into school and handle sitting in front of you guys today.
Yay.
I would say for mine this year would be self-isolation, because I haven't got the opportunity to like meet new people and interact and meet professors and stuff like that. My challenges for this year would probably have to be like disciplining myself to like do my classes, log in, do my stuff on time, just stuff like that. So that's what I would say.
Thank y'all so much. All right, so next question. What type? Oh, hello, Mr. J. Everyone welcome Mr. J. Jay is from College Prep U. Glad you made it safely.
Thank you.
So I will let you jump in very quickly. If you could kindly tell us a little introduction in terms of what school you went to, name, what you do, all that good stuff.
No problem. Thank you, Ms. Roller. My name is Jay Johnson. I'm the president of College Prep U. We're an organization that helps students and families navigate the college admission process. We make it much easier to where it's a business decision and not an emotional decision. Located in Trussville. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, hence the Bulldog shirt. I'm a big Bulldogs fan. I am also an alum of Morehouse College. I also received my MBA from Columbia University, Columbia Business School.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, I will, if you want to jump in as we start this round of questions. The question is, what type of sports, extra activities, or organizations did you join in college?
Sports, I tried to play football, but I sucked, so that didn't work. I ended up dropping my career aspirations in football and picking up another major. But I joined various organizations like the Collegiate 100 Black Men, as well as some that, like I was a mentor at the Boys and Girls Club. I also participated in many community service activities.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna try to remember all of them, okay, because it was a lot. So, I was in Pep Squad, I was a Southern Belle, let me see, Sigma Tau Epsilon Professional Fraternity Incorporated Road Chapter. I was in SGA, that's all I really, English Club, I was in the Honor Society, I was a part of the Alumni Association. That is all that I can remember right now, because it was so many things to join, you know, so, thank you.
As I said, Berea College is a work study college, so I had a job and then also I had extracurriculars. So my job is I worked in CELPS, which was basically the community service hub. So I basically helped run a tutoring service on campus. I also was in SGA for about 3 years. I was in KA, was in Kentucky Education Association. I was on the state level and our campus level. What else did I do? I think that's it for right now. I can't remember. It's been a minute.
So I went to school for lacrosse. I played lacrosse all 4 years. And then I did a group with that, which it was called PSAC. So our conference had like, you would choose like 2 people per team, and it was like who your coach felt like, and you had to get really good like academics and stuff like that. So I did that for the most part. We like tried to find ways to like fundraise for Make-A-Wish and stuff like that. So thank you.
I was in the university choir. I also did the gospel choir. I was in National Honor Society for Healthcare, and I was also in the Allied Health Club.
So at Gaston State, I was a part of the Students Without Borders Club. And then when I transferred to UAB, I became a part of Circle K. No, not the gas station. It's Circle K International, and I eventually went on to become the community chair of service. So I provided everybody with service projects, and I did most of my time doing community service.
Can't really answer that question.
It's okay. You're not at that first year of college, that's all right. More time. All right. So the next question would be, and I'm not sure if this really would count for you, but if you can recall, you're more than welcome to answer it. How did you balance schoolwork with your social life?
Oh, well, that's easy. Yeah, so Morehouse has this thing when we go through new student orientation. They're really big on teaching us about true balance. You know, how to become a well-balanced Morehouse man. At that time, we were a man in Morehouse, and so they always told us during orientation that, you know, you should commit for every 2 hours of socializing that you have off campus, you should commit 4 hours of study. And so, it was easy because I started mapping out my weekends, and when I realized that, you know, if I put more time in hanging out, then I'm gonna have to spend more time studying. And I know that's a weird kind of way of thinking, but I typically would just put in 40 hours a week of studying. But the way I teach students now, how that 40-hour is, of course, as an adult, we think 8 to 5. But when you're a student, you know, it's kind of broken up. So like, I'm a morning person. So if I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm probably going to work on an assignment that's going to be due at like my 9 o'clock class. So that's 3 hours of work that I'm putting in right there. And then in between my class, like maybe between going to the caf or just going to socialize and hang out to one dorm, you know, I always have my book bag on me, so it's a study session wherever I go. So I'll take my books and do another hour, 2 hours. If I had another paper later on that evening after dinner, I'll do some more work on that side. So we're talking about at least 6 to 7 hours of work that's broken up throughout the day, and you do that 5, 6 days a week, you hit your 40 easy. So that's how I broke up my day.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you balance schoolwork with your social life?
Okay, how did I balance schoolwork with my social life? So honestly, going into college, like I had no balance at all. I was not a morning person. I hated to get up going to high school. So when I got to college, it was the same thing for me. I still hated to get up in the morning. And my university chose me to have morning class. Like I didn't pick that. They chose it for me. So I think for me, it took me failing those classes for me to actually like find a balance. And when one of the organizations I did when I was doing the process, y'all know what you know, like going through a process and stuff, like, okay, I don't want to like say like being online, you know, but just like going through a process and stuff like that, like anything can happen. So by the end of that, I ended up failing a class and my GPA dropped really, really, really low, like 1.9 low. And that is like terrible. So don't ever do that. But it really took that and like my parents threatening to, because I was placed on academic probation. My parents, they literally did threaten to withdraw me from the university and just, you know, I could just work at McDonald's is what they told me with that GPA. So it took that failing and just being threatened with that for me to actually find a balance that worked for me. So after that, from that point on, I really just began to be more in my work, more in my books, and actually sitting in the front of the class because I just didn't want to have to go through that again.
Can I just say thank you for honesty? And that's why I appreciate having, you know, people who have been through college who have dealt with it, because there needs to be a level of honesty with it all. You know, talking about the failures and the struggles, I was similar to that. For me personally, going back to what Brianna said, I was homeschooled, so having to learn that balance between getting up early, doing your schoolwork, and then, you know, you'll get a text say, hey, you want to go to the CAF, or you want to go to this party on the quad? And really having to think, do I realistically have time to do this? What am I sacrificing if I go to this party or social thing or whatever the case may be? You're going to have hard times, like she said, but learning that balance is important. So thank you for your transparency. Destiny?
So I got really lucky my freshman year because, well, in general, because Maria, again, you have to work. Everybody works, no matter who you are, you have to work. So everybody is not only balancing social and their academic, like they're also balancing working on campus. And like some people, I forgot to mention, but I was a honor scholar, so I had a social group to work with. But some people were working in the cafeteria, some people were cleaning, some people were working in the library, helping with financial aid. So everybody knew the struggle of like having to balance that and get thrown into it the first, like, I guess you get into a nice little like honeymoon phase like the first 3 days, and then they throw you into work and you're like, I don't want to be here. But it took about half of the year to get used to everything. I'm not going to say that it was perfect afterwards, but I had a lot of like talking to the professors and talking to the supervisors, like, hey, I'm stressed out. I need help with this. I need help and like figuring out how to balance things. Also, I have a learning disability, so talking to the people over our disability department saying like, this is a struggle, I need help. How do I help myself? And how can you help me? So knowing when to look for that help was also really important to balance everything. It took getting sick to kind of balance everything out. I was good the first year. First year was great. But yeah, and get the minute.
Okay, so for me, it's similar to Destiny. Technically, it was supposed to be easy to balance everything out. My coach had a rule where we were required to do study hall hours. So all the freshmen at least had to do 8 hours. I think that was like the max amount of hours. So you had to go to the library, sign in, sit there for that X amount of time. It was up to you how you got your hours in, but you had to get it in. And then from that point on, she would adjust it based off of your grades. So it was easy, but it was the times that I didn't get caught up in like social life and sports. I mean, because some days we have 2-day practices and I'd be exhausted and be like, ooh, I never got to study for that test today. So, but it was a balance. I mean, it's an adjustment because it's just easy to get caught up. And I just remember calling my mom and she was like, Kristen, she kind of gave me a warning, like, you start slipping, it's all gonna fall back on you, and if you gotta come back home, then you just gotta come back home, so.
Well, coming in, I can honestly say, I probably didn't even go out my first year. I was so afraid of failing that I just forced myself into books until my uncle called me. He was a professor at Auburn State, and he said, you do know you can go out. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I've been talking to your grandmother, and she says every time she calls you, you're in your room. So my thing was having to plan social time. I had to force myself to go out, get to know people. Now, and honestly, I did not get the hang of it until my junior year. And then I added a job into it, and then I had to balance the job and internships and school. But I honestly had a planner that I literally planned everything out. Now, if I woke up late, I may be late for class tomorrow, but everything was planned out. So that was my way of dealing with it.
So this is kind of a weird question for me, I guess, because I was so socially awkward and panic-driven that I didn't really have a social life. If I was a part of a club or anything like that, I would do what I had to do and I would go back to my room. So my balance wasn't really between social life and schoolwork. It was more schoolwork and my procrastination. Because even though I didn't really go out with people and do a lot of stuff at home, I was just chilling, straight up chilling, like having a test tomorrow morning, and I'm like, but what's on my Netflix right now? So that was my balance that I had to figure out. And it was kind of, honestly, I still haven't figured it out, so if anybody has any tips, please let me know.
We got you, Liam.
But yeah, so socially, I did my social events and I went home and I was fine. But when I got home, that's when the balance was like, no more. It was more me holding myself back.
I would have to say, like hers, procrastination. That is a big one for me. So my social life, I still keep in contact with my friends and stuff. I would still keep in contact with them, but yeah, procrastination was the main thing.
Thank you.
All right, next question. Did you live on or off campus, and how was that experience?
My freshman year, I stayed on campus. With me being from Atlanta and then going to school in Atlanta, I did want that experience. And so, staying on campus was great for me initially because it got me out of the house. It made me change my routine. It didn't make me seem like it didn't feel like I was still in Atlanta, and that's where I was from. So I got a chance to really get to know my fellow brothers at Morehouse and hang out with my spelling sister and meet some of my friends at Clark and at then Morris Brown. It really played into the whole, just the concept of what college was to me. But from an academic standpoint, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me because, I never had to worry about any car troubles if I had to get to class. I never had to worry about, if I studied late at night, having to drive 30 minutes to my mom's house. And then most importantly, I never missed anything. Like that was it. When you get caught up on college campus and you deal with campus life, you never really want to miss anything, not your freshman year. Like everything is amazing your freshman year. And so having those deep philosophical conversations in the quad area with, my Morehouse brothers from different regions, and we're talking about different cultures and hip hop and all the stuff like that, those conversations lasted 2 o'clock in the morning. And I didn't want to drive from Atlanta to College Park, you know, at 2 o'clock in the morning. So just staying in the dorm really enhanced my experience. I always recommend, at least for the first year, that most students, you know, they have the ability to stay on campus, to stay on campus.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am. Did you live on or off campus, and what was that experience like?
Okay, so I lived on campus my first 2 years and off campus my junior and senior year. I would say living on campus, especially as a freshman, was probably one of the greatest things. The greatest things about just being in college, I feel like you just meet, you're not isolated, you meet so many new people, so many, you know, it's just so many people in that dorm room, like in just the building. It's, you know, you just meet so many people. You meet your lifetime friends, because I've met a lot of my friends, and we all just lived in the same dormitory. You're in close proximity to a lot of things. Like you were saying, you don't have to worry about car trouble. You meet your friends who do have cars, so you guys can, you know, roll around if you want to with them. And you're closer to your classes. Now, my university, I may have to walk. We have buses, but sometimes it's best to just opt out of that bus, because the bus has to stop by everybody's dorm room across campus. So they, you know, your class may be down the hill, but the bus is on the hill, and the bus has to go through, you know, past everybody else's dorm and classroom and cross the street to pick those students up from the gym, then make it to your class. And by the time you make it to class, you know, you're late. So sometimes we have to, you know, opt out to go in and take that walk. So, you probably gonna fall down the hill many times, because we all have, I know me many times, tripping down the hill. But I feel like, you know, I feel like every freshman, even if you don't want to, you know, for the next year, I feel like every freshman should definitely have that traditional experience of living in a dormitory. And, you know, don't opt out to, you know, be by yourself in a room, but have a roommate. You know, you're gonna have good experiences. You're gonna have bad ones, but I feel like those experiences are just really worth, you know, your college experience.
So I lived on campus for my entire time at Berea College. I greatly recommend it, especially your freshman year. I met so many people, I had so many friends. I knew by the time I got to junior year, if I ever had to live in an apartment with somebody, I knew who I could live with and who I could not live with. I'm gonna tell you straight up, some people are gross, and you're gonna complain about them, and they're gonna leave gross things in the bathroom, gross things in the kitchen, gross things in the sink. And you learn how to control also saying things to people as well. I did notice a difference when I was in school of the people who didn't stay, live close by and would just go home. They didn't make it at Berea. They went home and then never met anybody, never really made any friends. Didn't kind of create an anchor like a lot of my friends did of keeping you there, because when you have friends on campus, there's someone who wants you there. And if someone wants you there, you want to stay there for them. It's different than just being oh, mom wants me to get an education. She wants me to better myself. When there's someone who is your age who wants you to be in a place, it feels very different.
So your accountability buddy, pretty much.
Accountability buddy. And the more of them you have, the stronger your connection to a place. Because I know when I got sick, I thought I was I'm ready to go home now. We can just figure this out when I get home. But there were so many people who were I would miss you too much if you gave up now. So, yeah, be on campus, y'all.
So I lived on campus all 4 years. At one point, I think my senior year, we were thinking about living off campus, but we live in a very small town. My school is in a very small town, so it was really hard to find housing and stuff. And even then, it just came out as expensive as just paying the school for it. And then definitely, I mean, from an athlete's perspective, it wouldn't have made sense because like we have 6 a.m. practices, and imagine I live like 30 minutes away. I would get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and that's just to get to physical therapy before practice. So you just have to take into account like living off campus is just a lot more responsibilities and a lot more things that you have to worry about versus just being on campus and being able to just roll out of bed and just get to where you need to get to. So, but I mean, I enjoy living on campus. Of course, you meet some of your best friends. You are able to connect with people on a different level because y'all all live together in kind of the same boat. And then you just learn how to live with people because people definitely live different than you do. So I know I get mad at folks leaving the light on, and I'll be like, my mama said, y'all running the light bill up here. It's a whole fire show out here now. So, but yeah, live on campus. So.
I highly recommend to live on campus. I spent my 4.5 years on campus. Now, my first year, my roommate, we went through a honeymoon phase where everything was all peaches and cream. And then we spent like 3 months mad at each other because I felt like she wasn't cleaning up enough. She felt like I was over cleaning. And by the end of it, we loved each other. We knew we couldn't live together, but we knew we loved each other. We're still great friends, and I met some of my best friends on campus. They're the friends that make you feel like, okay, like Destiny said, these are my accountability partners. And especially if the people you meet are in your major, that helps a lot. But overall, please live on campus, please. It'll be some of the best times of your life.
So you guys pretty much know me by now, so I'm going to be the odd one out. I lived on campus my entire college career. Do not recommend it. Obviously, and Destiny can attest to this because we've known each other for about 2 years now. Whenever we first met, I sat at a table and did not speak to anybody. And so that's how my college life would have been. I knew, like if I was in a dorm, I would not speak to my roommate. It would just be more like cordial, hey, hi, I'm going to bed, good night, and that was it. So I thought what would have been best for me was to live off campus. However, I did go to UAB. Have you ever seen UAB?
It's a whole town in itself.
Whole town, no parking, having to walk crazy miles just to get to one class. I remember my last year, I didn't even go to class because the buses stopped running before my classes ended. So I had to walk all the way like 3 blocks to my car at night. And I was like, this is not for me. I will be on First 48 if I do this today. So I never lived on campus, so I was never a part of that culture, and I do regret it. I think that if I was, it would have brought me out of my shell a little bit more sooner, and that I would have had a better time at college, and it's like the social aspect of it. So even though I did not stay on campus, please stay on campus.
I've been online on my classes, but this fall I'll be in my dorm. So.
Hey, can I add something real quick?
Yes, you can.
So, even from like a statistics standpoint, students who do typically stay on campus statistically have a higher chance of graduating in those 4 years than those who do not. And so, and those stats are taken across the board from your small private schools to your large state schools to your highly selective schools. And it's shown that, you know, by staying on campus, from a social aspect, the accountability part is heavy. Because some campuses, you'll run into your professors, you'll run into your fellow classmates, and even your roommate can help you out. And I'll be honest with you, like if it wasn't for my freshman roommate, I don't think I would have done as well as I did in college. Like in high school, I was an average kid, like 2.5 GPA. But in college, my roommate was like a genius. Like he was a certified genius. And literally, he would hold me accountable to not getting up or, you know, anything that if he knew I had an assignment and he saw me playing video games, he would hold me accountable to it. And so that helped me tremendously as well.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so this kind of is a good segue to this question. What advice would you give high school students about transitioning from high school to college?
So I think one thing I always tell students and parents, because this is a two-part question, maybe I should go last. Okay. Yeah, I'll go last. Yeah, I'll go last.
I would say, what advice would you have given yourself to just, now that I think about it, I kind of would have wished I just kind of, I don't think I would change it because I'm kind of excited now and I feel like I'm more prepared now since I just got everything out of the way. But I would just say, like, if you're the type of person like me and you kind of get a little nervous when it comes to, like, different changes and stuff like that, because that's how I am, but then I get used to it. So I would say just go for it, because change is good.
Thank you. I think if I gave me some advice, little Brianna, I would have told her, don't go in there like you know stuff. You don't.
Humble.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, when you start college, you're going to have to do like your general studies anyways, right? So a lot of the stuff that you learned in high school, you think, oh yeah, I'm gonna know this. I'm gonna know this chemistry. I'm gonna know this math. And then you get a teacher who really knows the chemistry or the math, and then you're like, hold on, wait a minute. And so I kind of would have told myself to, take it easy on myself. Don't go in thinking that you have like this big head, like start over, start fresh. You're starting fresh in college, so you really just need to go with the flow. And I think that it would have ended up a lot better for me. So that would be my advice: is to kind of go in, take everything with a grain of salt. Give yourself a lot of grace because it's going to be a new experience. So that grace is important.
I'm kind of going to piggyback off Brianna. Yes, please give yourself grace. Don't overdo it because you have 4 years. You don't have to cram everything into 1 year. Just make sure you enjoy your time there. Value the people that you meet, even if you don't like them. Value the time you spend with your professors because please talk to your professors as much as you can. Get to know them. Because sometimes they are going to be your saving grace. When you need that little point to kind of put you over, they're the people that do that.
I would say have a plan, but don't have a plan. Kind of go in with like a loose blueprint of what you think you want to do, and just be prepared for that to be completely destroyed. But just be in the moment and just enjoy it all. Like I said, don't put too much pressure on yourself because nothing ever goes the way it's supposed to, and that's fine. And that really can work out to your benefit, believe it or not. And I think that's what I'm telling myself. Yeah.
I have 2 things. One, find your support systems before you even show up on campus. So find out where counseling services is, find out where disability services is, find out where the tutoring or the help and math lab is, find out all that stuff before you get there. So when you're like in panic mode, you already know where to go and you're not more into yourself trying to figure it out, not wanting to ask anybody for help, where you can just know where you're going. Because I spent almost until my last year. There was a whole woman who just helped you with research. Spent my whole year at Berea. Didn't know she existed until my senior year. Oh, I would have been easier. And then also give people grace the first year. Berea is the middle of nowhere, Kentucky. While it's not an HBCU, it is like the first integrated college in the South, but it's also still in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky. And some people need to unlearn things. So give people a year before you decide, like, we're going to burn this bridge right now. Because some of my friends have been my biggest advocate, but it took them a year to figure out what that meant. So, because not everybody's from a big city. Some people are from a big city. She's like, I don't know what to do. Yeah, some people are from a big city, and then some people are from, like my best friend's from Albany, Kentucky, which they have 1 stoplight. So, yeah, give people grades for their first year, and then you can totally ignore them for the rest of the time there.
Okay, can you just repeat? Yes. What advice would you give high school students about transitioning from high school to college?
Okay, so me, first of all, I would say if you are in high school and you feel like your grades don't really matter in high school, I'm here to tell you that they matter. And what I mean by that is, I wish that I had listened to my grandmother when she told me to fill out scholarships, and my grandmother was telling me these things, or how important it is for me to study for the ACT. She was telling me these things when I was in the 8th grade, transitioning into 9th grade, and transitioning into high school. So by my senior year of high school, I did not have any of those things, really figured out. So I went into college, having to, use financial aid, and, that's all fine and dandy. However, you nor your parents want to be paying that money back, because literally your tuition can be up to $90,000 to, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I had a cousin graduated doctorates at UAB. Her tuition is $300,000. You cannot really even imagine having to repay that back, So I would say, one of the advice I would give is to fill out any and all scholarships that you can from high school. When you get to college, do the same thing. You will not have to pay that money. When it's scholarships, you don't have to pay that money back. Also, I would say to go to school for the things that you love to do, the things that you are passionate about, because I see so many of my peers now who have, they're engineers, they're big, they're all of these things, but they do not love it. They wish that they did not take on the things that they did, because although they're making, money, they're not happy. It's literally for them is get up, go to work, weekend, I'm a rest. They're not enjoying it. So I feel like it's very important for you to go for what you love, and not necessarily go just because, mom or dad or a best friend has encouraged you to do this, because they say you can do this, do what you love. And another thing, I love that everybody is on board with the give yourself grace, because give yourself grace in school, in college, give yourself grace with your work, with, no matter what adversities you face, be kind to yourself and be gentle to yourself, and know that it doesn't matter, what goes on in your life. When you have a strong support system, they're going to continue to love you and support you no matter what. And for parents, I feel like it's also supportive of you to give your child grace while they're going through these transitions in college, because it really is so hard on children when you come from a background where your parents haven't gone to college, they don't have a degree, but they expect you to go to college and be perfect, but they don't know these feelings that they don't know how you feel, or the things that you're facing while being in college. My mom, eventually she did go back and got her degree as a dentist. But before that, while I was in school, I would call home and I would, tell them all the things that I'm going through. And they would say, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to try. And I'm like, I'm doing the best that I can. But they didn't understand how I was feeling, because they didn't have a degree at the time. So I feel like as parents, it really is important for you to, no matter what your children are dealing with in school, be supportive and be loving, and let them know that you are supporting them. Give sound advice, but still give them grace as well. So I know that was a lot, but
No, but it was great.
but yeah, so that's the advice I would give.
Thank you.
Nice. Honestly, ladies, y'all did an amazing job. I echo everything they say. And what I typically tell parents and students, so it's kind of twofold. So I'll tackle one at a time. One with the students. When students are trying to figure out what school they want to go to and why they're going to school, you all have to do your due diligence. Now here's the thing, it's tough because the students have so much pressure put on them. As a parent, we look at the students and say, all right, cool, your only job is to go to school. Your job is to go to school, get grades, and do this. But then what you have to realize is that it's more than that. So they have to go to school, they have to grow up, they have to deal with what society has to deal with, they have to deal with the impressions of social media now, they have to deal with the crime that surrounds us, they have to deal with so much more, extracurricular activities, AP classes, ACT tests, getting good grades, they have to deal with filling out scholarships, trying to figure out what kind of college they're going to go to, what kind of major they're going to make, and make a decision that can potentially cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars at the age of 16, 17. There's no way in the world, anywhere else, where you would give your child who is 16, 17 years old, full authority and decision to make a decision, that's going to cost $100 grand. I don't know any parents that take their kids with them to buy a house, to sign on their house, to get a loan, none of that stuff. So they're not even in that process. You're putting the same type of pressure in front of them. And what happened is, a lot of parents are not willing to say, I don't know. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know how to help you. So we put all the pressure on them because of the lack of knowledge that we have in ourselves. So, it's hard when, their kid is making a decision and they're trying to do their best, but they can't have an open conversation with you because you're not open to receive it. So then when it comes to the kids, like understanding what schools have to offer you and what you have to offer them. The problem is, we're living in a society where we're eager to be accepted. But in actuality, colleges need you more than you need them. Because your butts in their seats is what keep their lights on. So when you really twist it and say, I'm hoping I can get into this college, and you turn around and say, well, why should I go to this college? What can you do for me? How are you going to help me achieve my goals? What can you do to get me where I need to go? Then you really understand your position and how much power you have in this whole decision. And so you have to get your things in order first. You got to do your grades. Yes, I agree with that. You got to apply for scholarships. You got to go visit the campuses. Look up the traditions. Follow their social media. They're going to track you just like you should track them. If you're going to go into a different major or you're trying to decide what major you want to go into, parents, give your kids an assessment test. Let's see what their personality, what career matches with their personality, and then let's see how we can help explore them. And then lastly, for the parent side, parents, we got to stop being dream killers. Parents are the biggest dream killers. They'll tell you, you want to get a degree in art. You're not going to make no money in art. Like, that's stupid. No, you need to do accounting. You need to do nursing. You need to do this. You're killing their dreams. You don't know what that person may turn out to become based off what their heart is telling them to pursue. And so if you immediately shut them down based on what your idea is or what your thought of success is for your child, then right then you're closing that communication to them. And that's going to hurt you in the long run. Secondly, you got to be very financial transparent with your children. Sit down and tell them the sacrifices that you're making and how that tuition is getting paid. Don't say, okay, well, we're going to fill out this FAFSA form, or you need to fill out scholarships, or you don't know, I can't afford this. Show them. Show them how you can't afford it. Show them how much money you're putting aside to this. Show them that if it costs $10,000 for them to go to school and you have to get a loan and you got to pay on this loan and it's going to cost you $300 a month, show them where that money comes from. Because if you're not financially transparent with them, they're not going to understand it. And then you have to realize that when they go to campus, they got to handle their money situation themselves. If you have not taught them how to be financially responsible, you cannot put that burden on the financial aid office either. Because it's not fair. Because now you're asking a complete stranger who don't know you, don't know your child, but only can see your financial situation from a form that you filled out to tell your child what they need to do in order to pay to still be here. And when they get a note in their dormitory saying their bill is due and they got to move out, that's hard. So then also, parents, those who have been to college, stop pushing your alma mater on your own kids. Like, stop. Like that. I know that's easy, but that's lazy because you're trying to give them your experience and you're only giving them the good stuff that you remember. You're not giving them the bad stuff. And I hate alumni tours. I'm a victim of it because I know for sure I got a son. And when it was time for him to start looking for colleges, I gave him the Morehouse alumni tour. Well, this is my dorm, and this is where we hung out at, and this is where the fraternity's kicking at. And man, I remember I had a whole conversation about Tupac Shakur right here. And he was like, yeah, Dad, but all right, cool, there's a crane. What is that crane for? I don't know, son. I guess they build a building. What building is it? I really don't know. But I was in business, so here's my business building right here. So you got to stop giving them the tailgate tour. the homecoming tour, like your tour, like set them up for an official tour. Let your school do their job to recruit your kid. If that school wants your kid, they will do everything they can to recruit them. But if you do the job for the school, again, you're giving in to the emotional side and you're not setting them up for success. You're just forcing them to do something to please you. And that's going to be, I mean, that's a word in itself. And then lastly, both parents and students need to set up a routine, especially for my females. I always tell my females, you know, wherever you go to school, you got to set up a routine. And when you tour that campus with your child, understand this is the dorm they may live in, this is the building where they may study, this is the cafeteria, this is the library. So when that child is walking from the library back to their dorm, you should be able to visualize that. And so they need to get in the habit of calling you at a certain time. Yes, students, call your parents at a certain time. If it's 7 o'clock in the evening, I don't care what you're doing, send a text, set a reminder, have a call, have a conversation. Establish that routine. Because if something's off, your parents need to know what they need to do in order to get to you. So now what does that look like? Well, parents, when you go back to tour, understand where the closest emergency room is. Understand where the closest police station, not campus police station is. Understand, meet your child roommate's parents. Like, understand who they are, where they come from, because if you're trying to get in contact with their roommate, and you can't, you need to be able to get in contact with the parents. And so you need to go ahead and have all these little checkpoints before you hit the crazy button and show up on campus. And that would happen, you know. And so if you have that established routine, and I know, like when I got married, my wife was like, look, I talk to my mom every day, and I was like, that's weird. I was like, that's weird, but I get it, you know, when she's from the country, and she went to Atlanta to go to school. She went to Spelman. And so, like, I understood that, you know, this little country mouse went to the big city, and she had to establish a routine, but it kept her safe. And all I could think about was that young lady that went to Southern Union State. You know, I hate that. That's from Homewood. It made me also think about that young lady who was at Clark, Atlanta. That made me think about it. Like, these are things that need to happen. You have to have these realistic conversations with your child. And then lastly, help them. Don't put all the duties on your child to find everything out. Help them with, you know, scholarships. Help them with that. And if you cannot do it, then you hire somebody like me and my company, and we will do that. But if you put that all on your on your student's counselor, let me just drop this down on you. The average student spends a total of 38 minutes over the course of 4 years going over college readiness with their guidance counselor. Because their guidance counselor is one person who probably has to manage 200 to 300 students. The most organized person with her notebook cannot schedule that time with your child. So therefore, their job is not going to be to help your kid get to the next level. Their job is just to send the transcripts and get the colleges to come through. Your job is to help them. And if you cannot hire somebody, there are so many different people out there that you can employ to help you and your child. That's it.
Thank you, thank you. From there, I'd like to open it up to any questions from the audience. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
What did y'all major in?
Go ahead.
What did y'all major in?
I was business administration with a concentration in corporate finance.
My undergrad was in English and my master's is in communication specialist.
I got a degree in education.
My undergrad, I did graphic design, and then I minored in computer science and in business, and then my master's is in business.
My undergrad is rehabilitation services with a concentration in maternal and child health and addiction. My master's is in nonprofit management and leadership.
My undergrad is criminal justice with a minor in forensic science, and I will be going to grad school for social work.
Right now, I'm getting my associate's degree in business administration.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Anyone else have any questions? Yes.
I don't know what they do for a living now.
Okay. What do you all do for a living?
I got a business where I help kids get into college.
I'm a creative director for Saved in the City.
So I'm currently an AmeriCorps member. so I don't have a job technically. But you don't know this, but I have a job at Build Up next year, but you don't know that.
I am the Community Impact Coordinator for Girls Inc.
I am a program facilitator for Girls Inc.
I also get on everybody's nerves here as a program facilitator at Girls Inc.
This is my job right now. I'm a caregiver at Chalkville Elementary School.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any questions? Okay, if not, I would just like to say a huge, huge thank you to all of my beautiful and handsome panelists. Thank you all for coming out. This was Team Leadership's first in-person session post-COVID, so this was amazing. Grateful for you all. Grateful for you all. If you have any questions for them outside of the group, you're more than welcome to come up and ask. If not, please get some refreshments. And thank you all again for showing up.